Or putting the business in your name, Carmen, just temporarily. That was 3 years ago. I said yes. I should have said no. My name is Carmen Tomlinson. I'm 33 years old, and the night I realized my entire family had been using me as their personal shield, their legal shield, started with a phone call I almost didn't answer. Maylee heard it first. She was stretched across the foot of my bed, all 140 pounds of her, taking up more space than any creature legally should. Great Danes sleep like they own everything, which, honestly, Maylee kind of did. Then her head snapped up. 2 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Oliver, 11:47 p.m. I stared at the ceiling. Maylee stared at me. Her ears were forward, body stiff, like she already knew this call was going to cost me something. I answered. Oliver? Oliver's voice was tight, controlled. The voice he needed when he needed something but didn't want to sound like he needed something. You're awake? I am now. Listen, a pause. We have a situation with the business. The business. My stomach dropped. 3 years ago, my family opened a catering company, Mom's idea. Oliver handled operations. Matilda, his wife, managed bookings. My sister Audrey did social media. Aunt Hallie occasionally showed up at events and called herself the brand ambassador. And me? I was the silent financial backbone, the one with the good credit score, the one with the clean legal history, the one whose name went on every single document because, and this is the part that should have stopped me cold, nobody else qualified. What kind of situation? I asked. There's a client threatening to sue, something about a contract breach. Carmen, it's not a big deal, but Oliver, it's probably nothing. Which name is on the contract? Silence. I already knew the answer. Maylee climbed off the bed, walked to my side, and pressed her massive head against my arm. There it is. Mine, I said, flatly. My name is on the contract. It's just how we set it up initially. Oliver, I sat up straight. If someone is suing over a contract breach, they're suing me, not you, not Mom, not Matilda or Audrey, who shows up twice a year and calls herself the brand ambassador. Me. Carmen, calm down. How much? Another pause. Longer this time. How much are they threatening to sue for, Oliver? $80,000. The number hit me like cold water. Maylee pressed closer. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Something quieter happened. Something that felt like a door closing inside my chest, slowly, permanently. I reached for my laptop, opened a folder I'd been building quietly for 8 months, not because I suspected anything, just because I'm organized, just because something in my gut had whispered, keep records, Carmen. Bank statements, contracts, text messages, emails. $80,000 in liability sitting on my name, and I had receipts for every single cent I'd poured into this family. Maylee suddenly stood up, walked to my desk in the corner, and started sniffing at the bottom drawer, aggressively, pawing at it. Maylee, stop. She didn't stop. I frowned, walked over, pulled the drawer open. Inside was a folder I didn't recognize. I never put it there. I opened it, and what I found inside made every single thing I thought I knew about my family collapse in about 30 seconds. If your family has ever put their problems in your name and called it love, you need to stay. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because what Carmen finds in that folder changes everything, and Maylee just became the most important character in this story. I'm Carmen Tomlinson, and I'm done being their safety net.
She trusts us. Just keep it clean. That was Oliver's exact words, in writing, printed on a page, sitting in my own desk drawer. I didn't go looking for it. Mally found it. The folder was thin, No label, no name, just stuffed in the bottom drawer like someone forgot it was there. Or left it on purpose. 15 pages. I read every single one standing right there at my desk at midnight in my pajamas. Page 1, a business registration document. Same business name, same address, same logo we'd built together. Different owner listed. Oliver Tomlinson. Not Carmen Tomlinson, not the family, not jointly, just Oliver. Molly sat at my feet and didn't move. I turned the page. A private bank account opened 6 months after our business launched. Weekly deposits, consistent. Large. I pulled up my own records and cross-referenced the dates. Every deposit matched our biggest event weeks, the corporate bookings, the wedding receptions, the private parties Matilda scheduled that somehow never appeared in our shared accounting spreadsheet. Someone had been running a second set of books, skimming from the top, while my name carried every single legal risk. Page 7 broke something in me. A printed email. Oliver to a vendor named R. Castellano. Keep routing premium invoices through the main account. Carmen signs everything anyway. She never checks the splits. Oliver's reply underneath. She trusts us. Just keep it clean. I read it 3 times. Molly made a low sound beside me. Not a growl, something quieter. I closed the folder, put it in my fireproof document box, the one with my passport and insurance papers. Then I texted Chandler. Me. Can you come over tomorrow? Bring your professional hat. He replied fast. Chandler. Professional hat? Got it. How bad? Here's what my family didn't know about Chandler. He wasn't just my boyfriend. He was a contracts attorney. And I had never once mentioned that to Oliver or Mom or Matilda or Audrey or Aunt Hallie. Because in this family, what you don't share, you protect. I learned that from them. I climbed back into bed. Molly jumped up beside me uninvited, all 140 pounds of her completely certain she was staying. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about one thing only. That folder didn't put itself in my drawer. Someone in my family put it there. And the only question was, were they trying to warn me? Or set me up?
Carmen, this isn't just a contract problem. Chandler said it slowly, the way attorneys talk when the news is bad and they're buying themselves one extra second before delivering it. I knew that voice. I'd never needed it aimed at me before. He arrived at 8 on the dot. Maylee met him at the door first. She liked Chandler. She showed it by blocking his entire path and refusing to move until he scratched behind her ears. He obliged, then looked up at my face. "That bad?" he asked. "Sit down," I said. I put the folder on the kitchen table between us. Fresh coffee. Neither of us touched it. He read in silence. I watched his face. Chandler had a good lawyer face, neutral, controlled, hard to read. I had seen it at work functions and dinner parties, and once at a family gathering where my Aunt Hallie loudly asked him if he was my friend, with a very specific emphasis on friend. He'd smiled politely, that same face now, except his jaw tightened on page 3. And on page 7, the email, he stopped, read it again, set it flat on the table. "How long has your name been on everything?" he asked. 3 years. Contracts, lease, business license? All of it. Loans. I nodded. He leaned back, rubbed his face with both hands. That was the tell. That was when I knew. Carmen, this isn't just a contract problem. Tell me, whoever built this second registration used your business as a legal cover. The liability from that client threatening to sue, that lands on the registered entity, which is you. But the money from those skimmed events went into a separate account, which is Oliver. So I absorb the loss, and he keeps the profit, I said quietly. That's fraud, Carmen. The word landed hard. Maylee walked from her spot by the window and sat directly beside my chair. There's something else, Chandler said. He flipped to the last page, something I hadn't focused on the night before, a signature line at the bottom of the second business registration. A witness signature. I leaned forward. It wasn't Oliver's signature. It was Matilda's. Oliver's wife. The one who managed bookings. The one who scheduled the private parties that never appeared in the shared spreadsheet. She hadn't just known. She'd signed off on it. Chandler, I said carefully, who put this folder in my drawer? He looked at me. You don't know? Nobody has keys except family. He was quiet for a moment. Then someone in your family is trying to help you, possibly under duress. He paused. Or they're panicking. Maylee suddenly stood, walked straight to the front door, stared at it. 3 seconds later, my phone rang. Mom. I looked at Chandler. He looked at me. Don't answer it yet, he said quietly. Not until we know exactly what we're dealing with. He closed the folder. I need to make some calls. And Carmen, don't tell anyone we've spoken. Not Oliver, not Matilda, nobody. I nodded. My phone kept ringing. Maylee kept staring at the door. And I realized whoever put that folder in my drawer was either about to save me, or they were already one step ahead of me.
Carmen, Oliver told me everything. Please don't do anything stupid. Stupid. That word. From the woman who raised me. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened to it standing in my kitchen with Chandler across the table and Molly pressed against my leg like a wall. Mom's voice was tight, controlled. The kind of controlled that meant she'd already been crying and decided to stop. Carmen, call me back. This is a family matter. We handle family matters privately. Whatever you're thinking, just wait. Please. I played it twice. Chandler heard it both times. She knows, he said flatly. She's always known, I said, and saying it out loud for the first time felt like setting something heavy down after carrying it for years without realizing how much it weighed. Mom wasn't innocent in this. She was the one who'd suggested putting everything in my name 3 years ago at her kitchen table over Sunday dinner. You're the responsible one, Carmen. You're the one we trust. She'd said it like a compliment, like being trustworthy meant being available for whatever they needed whenever they needed it. I smiled, said yes, signed everything. Molly walked to her water bowl, drank, walked back, sat. What do you want to do? Chandler asked. I want to know who put that folder in my drawer. He nodded slowly. I have a theory. Tell me. Matilda signed the second registration. He folded his hands on the table. But signing something and being comfortable with it are 2 different things. People signed things they regret. I stared at him. You think Matilda put it there? You think Matilda has been watching this build for 3 years and got scared when that client threatened to sue. He paused. Because she knows what happens next. She knows whose name is on everything. And maybe
Maybe she doesn't want to watch you go down for something Oliver built. My phone buzzed. Not a call this time, a text. Matilda. Can we meet? Just us? Don't tell Oliver. I showed Chandler the screen. He read it, looked up. There it is. Molly stood up immediately, like she'd been waiting for exactly this moment. I texted back. When and where? Matilda replied in seconds. Today, noon, the coffee place on Reed Street. Come alone. Chandler reached across the table, put his hand flat over mine. Carmen, whatever she tells you today, don't react, don't threaten, don't show your hand. I know, Chandler. He held my gaze. This is the moment everything either falls apart or comes together. I stood up, grabbed my jacket. Molly was already at the door. She stays here, Chandler said. Molly turned and looked at him with the specific expression Great Danes reserve for people who have said something deeply unreasonable. She comes, I said. Chandler opened his mouth, closed it. Molly walked out first. I had 2 hours before I sat across from my sister-in-law and found out exactly how deep this went, and whether the woman who helped build the lie was now ready to help me burn it down. Should we proceed?
I told him not to do it, Carmen. From the beginning, I told him. Matilda's hands were wrapped around her coffee cup like it was the only solid thing in the room. She hadn't touched the coffee. Neither had I. The place was quiet. Corner table. Matilda had chosen it deliberately. Back to the wall, clear view of the door. She'd been watching for me when I walked in. Her eyes dropped to Molly immediately. You brought the dog? I said. She goes where I go. Talk. Molly settled under the table. Matilda watched her for a second, then exhaled like she'd been holding that breath for 3 years. Oliver came to me 18 months into the business, said the numbers weren't adding up the way he wanted, said he had a plan to create a separate account for premium event revenue. She stopped. I told him it was wrong. I told him your name was on everything, and if anything went sideways, he did it anyway, I said. He did it anyway. And you signed the second registration. She flinched. He said it was a restructuring document, a formality. She looked up. I know how that sounds. It sounded familiar. It sounded exactly like what they'd said to me. Just a formality, Carmen. Sign here. How much? I asked. She hesitated. Matilda, how much did he skim? She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded piece of paper, slid it across the table. I opened it, looked at the number, looked at it again. $94,000 over 2 years, moved quietly into Oliver's private account while my name sat on every contract, absorbing every risk. Molly shifted under the table, pressed her head against my ankle. I kept my face completely neutral, Chandler's voice in my head. Don't react. Don't show your hand. Why now? I asked. Why tell me now? Matilda's eyes filled. Because that client isn't just threatening to sue anymore. She swallowed hard. They filed yesterday, officially. Carmen, they're coming after you personally, your credit, your assets, everything in your name. The room stayed quiet around us. Oliver knows? I asked. Oliver is the one who told me. Her voice dropped. He said he'd handle it, that you'd figure something out, that you always do. That you always do. There it was, the entire philosophy of my family in 5 words. Carmen will figure it out. Carmen always does. Carmen is reliable. Carmen is responsible. Carmen is the one whose name we put on things because Carmen won't ask too many questions. Why did you put that folder in my drawer? I asked quietly. She blinked. How did you know it was me? Because you're the only one with a conscience, apparently. She looked down. I came over last week while you were at work. Oliver had a spare key.
I copied what I could find and—" She stopped. "I'm sorry, Carmen. I know that's not enough." I folded the paper, put it in my jacket pocket. "Are you willing to put everything you just told me in writing?" I asked. She went pale. "Oliver is my husband." "I know. He'll—" "Matilda," I leaned forward, "they are coming after me, personally, legally, for something Oliver built while I was signing documents I trusted were legitimate." I held her gaze. "So I need to know, right now, which side are you on?" Molly came out from under the table, sat beside Matilda's chair, just sat there, calm, steady. Matilda looked at my dog for a long moment, then she looked at me. "What do you need me to sign?"
Oliver just called me. He knows we met. Matilda's text came in at 3 p.m., 2 hours after we left that coffee shop, 2 hours after she signed a 4-page witness statement detailing everything. I was sitting at Chandler's office when it came through. He read it over my shoulder, said nothing for a second. "How?" I asked. "Someone saw you two together." He sat down. "Or Matilda told him herself." I looked at him. "I'm not saying she did," he said carefully. "I'm saying we move faster now." Molly was in the corner of his office, occupying an entire client chair like she paid rent. His paralegal had already brought her water without being asked. Chandler spread everything across his desk. Matilda's signed statement, the folder, the printed emails, the bank records I'd pulled, 3 years of my own documentation that I'd kept out of habit, out of instinct, out of that quiet voice that had whispered, "Keep records, Carmen," when nobody was listening. He looked at it all for a long moment. "You built a solid case without even trying," he said. "I was just being organized." "Carmen, this is evidence of fraudulent misrepresentation, tax fraud, potentially wire fraud depending on how those transfers were structured." He tapped the folder. "Oliver didn't just skim money. He used your identity and creditworthiness as a financial instrument without full disclosure." "In regular words," I said. "He built his scheme on your name and left you to burn when it collapsed." Molly lifted her head from the chair, looked at Chandler, looked at me. "What's our move?" I asked. Chandler leaned back. 3 things. First, we file a legal separation of liability immediately, documenting that you were a nominal signatory under misrepresentation. He picked up a pen. Second, we report the fraudulent second registration to the State Business Authority. And third, he met my eyes. We contact the client suing you directly, show them where the actual money went, give them a better target. My phone buzzed again. Oliver this time. "Carmen, call me. This is getting out of hand. We can fix this as a family." Then Mom. "Please, Carmen, just talk to us first." Then Audrey. "I don't know what's happening, but everyone is freaking out. Call me." I turned my phone face down. "There's something else," Chandler said. He pulled out a document I hadn't seen before. "I made some calls this morning. The vendor, R. Castellano." He paused. "Apparently, Oliver stopped paying him 3 months ago, and he's not feeling particularly loyal." I stared at him. "How did you find that out in 1 morning?" Chandler allowed himself a small smile. "I'm good at my job." Molly jumped down from the chair, walked to the desk, sniffed the documents like she was reviewing them personally. "She approves," Chandler said. "She always knows," I said. My phone buzzed 1 more time. I turned it over, expecting Oliver again. It was Matilda. "He's on his way to your apartment right now." I stood up immediately. Chandler was already grabbing his jacket. "Don't go alone," he said. I wasn't planning to. Molly was already at the door. Oliver was heading to my apartment to do what exactly I didn't know. Convince me, threaten me, beg me. But for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't walking into a room with my family unprepared. I had receipts. Every single one.
"Just let me explain. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." He was already in the hallway when I got there, standing at my door, hands in his pockets, doing the thing he always did when he wanted something, leaning against the wall like this was casual, like this was nothing. It wasn't nothing. Molly stepped off the elevator first. She stopped the moment she saw Oliver. Didn't growl, didn't move, just stood there blocking the hallway like a gray wall. Oliver looked at Molly, then at me. Carmen. Oliver. Can we talk inside? No. He blinked. That surprised him. I'd never said no to Oliver at a door before. I'd always opened it, always offered coffee, always made it comfortable for everyone except myself. Not today. 5 minutes, he said. Just hear me out. I've been hearing you out for 3 years, I said. I'm done listening. I have questions. He shifted his weight. Okay. The second business registration, your idea? He opened his mouth. Don't lie to me, Oliver. I have the documents, I have the bank records, I have Matilda's statement, I have emails between you and Castellano. I kept my voice flat. So don't lie to me. The hallway went very quiet. Molly hadn't moved an inch. Oliver's jaw tightened. It wasn't supposed to go this far. How far was it supposed to go? It was just, the margins weren't what I projected. I needed a way to project some of the revenue, keep it separate, just until we stabilized. You skimmed $94,000, Oliver. He flinched. It wasn't skimming. While my name was on every contract, every loan, every lease. I stepped closer. You protected your money with my name. He looked at the floor. I was going to fix it. When? Silence. When were you going to fix it, Oliver? Before or after that client sued me personally for a contract breach on a business you were secretly running under my identity? He looked up. Something shifted in his face. The casualness dropped. What was underneath wasn't guilt exactly. It was calculation. Carmen, if this goes legal, it destroys the whole family. Mom, Dad, everything we built together. You built it on my name. We're family. Stop saying that. Family, I felt something rise in my chest. Not anger, something colder. Family, you want to talk about family? Dad told me to put my name on those documents because I was the responsible one. Mom said it was temporary. You said it was a formality. Audrey never asked a single question as long as the social media looked good. And Aunt Hallie showed up to events and ate the food and called herself brand ambassador. I paused. Which one of those is family, Oliver? Because from where I'm standing, it looks a lot more like a board of directors, and I'm the one who got voted most useful. He was quiet for a long moment. Molly finally moved. She walked slowly to my side, sat. What are you going to do? Oliver asked. His voice was different now, smaller. I'm going to protect myself, I said, the way you protected yourself, except I'm going to do it legally. Carmen, go home, Oliver. Mom is devastated. Go home. He looked at Molly, then at me, then back at the floor. He pushed off the wall, walked to the elevator, pressed the button. Right before the doors opened, he turned around. I didn't think you'd actually do anything, he said quietly. I thought you'd just handle it, like you always do. The elevator opened. He stepped in. The doors closed. I stood in the hallway for a moment. Molly leaned against my leg. I didn't think you'd actually do anything. 3 years summed up in one sentence. I pulled out my phone and called Chandler. I came, I said, and file everything tomorrow morning. All of it. A pause. Carmen, once we file this, there's no taking it back. I know. Your family. I know, Chandler. Another pause, longer. Okay, he said quietly. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. I hung up, unlocked my door. Molly walked straight in and went to her spot like the day was perfectly ordinary. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tomorrow, my family finds out that the one they counted on to stay quiet finally decided to speak.
You actually did it. I can't believe you actually did it. Audrey's voice on the phone. Not angry, shocked. Like she genuinely never considered that I was capable of following through. Neither had I, honestly. But here we were. Chandler filed everything at 8:04 a.m. By 10:30, the family knew. I didn't tell them. I didn't send a message. I didn't prepare anyone. I just let the legal process do exactly what legal processes do. Move forward, regardless of feelings. My phone started at 10:47. Dad first. I let it ring. Then Mom, then Audrey, then Oliver 3 times back to back, then a number I didn't recognize that turned out to be my Uncle Raymond, who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years, but apparently had opinions about my life choices. I sat at my kitchen table with coffee and Molly's head in my lap and let every single call go to voicemail. Then I listened to them in order. Dad. Voice tight, controlled. The disappointment tone he'd been perfecting since I was 9 years old. Carmen, whatever you think you're doing, this is not how we handle things. Call me back immediately. Delete. Mom. Crying. Not the calculated crying from Oliver's phone call weeks ago. Something raw. I don't understand. We're your family. How could you do this to us? How could you do this to your brother? How could I do this to my brother? Not, how could your brother do this to you? Not, we're so sorry, Carmen. Not, we had no idea. How could I do this to my brother? Delete. Audrey. Quiet. Measured. Surprisingly composed. I don't know everything that happened, but I want to. Call me when you're ready. I stopped. Played that one again. Molly lifted her head. That was different. Oliver. 3 voicemails. I played the last one. You want to destroy this family over money? Fine, Carmen, fine. But don't expect us to forgive this. Don't expect us to forgive this. I almost laughed. Chandler arrived at noon, sat across from me, looked at my face. How are you? He asked. Surprisingly okay, I said. The client's attorney called this morning. When we presented Matilda's statement and the bank records showing where the premium revenue actually went, they shifted focus immediately. He paused. Oliver is now the primary respondent. And my liability? Significantly reduced, Carmen. Your documentation showing you were a misrepresented signatory is strong, Carmen. Your attorney of record filed the separation this morning. He reached across the table. You're not the target anymore. Molly exhaled from her spot on the floor, long and slow, like she'd been waiting for that Moors too. Matilda? I asked. Cooperating fully. Her attorney negotiated her position separately from Oliver's. He paused. She's not in a good place personally, but legally she made the right call. I nodded. My phone buzzed on the table. Not a call, a text. Audrey. I've been sitting here thinking all morning. I didn't know about the second account. I didn't know about any of it. I want you to know that. And I'm sorry I never asked if you were okay. I just assumed you were because you always seemed like you were. I read it twice. Molly got up, walked over, put her head on my knee and looked up at me. I typed back slowly. I know you didn't know. We can talk soon. She replied immediately. Okay, I'll be here. I put the phone down. Outside the window, the city moved like nothing had happened. Traffic, people, ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Inside my apartment, 3 years of being the family's safety net had just officially ended. Not with a fight, not with a dramatic confrontation,
Not with screaming or crying or a table of people choosing sides. Just paperwork. Just receipts. Just the quiet, devastating efficiency of documentation. Chandler watched me from across the table. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking about what Oliver said in the hallway." I looked up. He said he didn't think I'd actually do anything. Chandler nodded slowly. "That's the thing they never understand," I said. "Quiet people, patient people, people who smile and sign and show up and handle it." I paused. "We're not pushovers. We're just waiting until we have everything we need." Molly pressed closer. Chandler smiled, small but real. "So what happens now?" he asked. I looked at my phone. Mom's missed calls, Dad's voicemail, Oliver's anger, Audrey's unexpected apology, Matilda's courage, all of it sitting there, waiting for me to decide what to do with it. Partial reconciliation. That was always the plan. Not everyone gets forgiven. Not everything gets rebuilt. But some things, some people, might be worth the conversation. Tomorrow. Tonight, I was done.
I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to let me try. Mom said it standing in my doorway. No dramatic entrance, no army of family behind her. Just her, alone, holding a container of her chicken soup like food could fix a fracture this deep. Maybe it couldn't, but she came alone. That meant something. I'd been expecting Oliver, or Dad with his disappointment voice and his crossed arms and his carefully prepared speech about family loyalty. Instead, it was Mom. Tuesday evening. No warning text, no call ahead, just a knock. Molly reached the door before I did. She sniffed the gap underneath, sat down calmly. I opened it. Mom looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, something else. Like the version of her that always had an answer for everything had quietly stepped aside and left someone more honest in its place. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped back. She walked in slowly, looked around my apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. Maybe she was. She'd never really looked before, never asked about the art on my walls or the books on my shelf or the way I'd arranged my space to feel like mine. She set the soup on the counter, sat at my kitchen table without being invited. Molly walked over and sat beside her chair. Mom looked at Molly for a long moment, reached out slowly, and put her hand on her head. Molly let her. "I owe you an apology," Mom said. "Not to Molly, to me." I sat across from her, said nothing. "Not just for the business," she said. "For a long time before that." She looked at her hands. "You were always the one we leaned on, the responsible one, the capable one. And I think we confused capable with okay." She looked up. "You were never just okay, were you?" "No, I wasn't." She nodded slowly, like that landed exactly where it was supposed to. "Your dad is angry," she said. "I won't pretend he's not. He feels like you went outside the family, went legal. He sees that as a betrayal." "I was being sued, Mom, personally, for something Oliver built." "I know," she said it, quietly. No argument, no defense, just, "I know." "Oliver is dealing with the consequences. His attorney says it's serious." She paused. "He made choices that hurt you. I won't defend them." That was new. In 33 years, I had never once heard my mother refuse to defend Oliver. Molly leaned into Mom's hand. "What about you, Mom?" I asked. "Did you know?" She was quiet for a long moment, long enough that I had my answer before she spoke. "I didn't know about the second account," she said carefully, "but I knew something wasn't right. About 6 months ago.
the way Oliver talked about the business, the way he changed the subject when you came up. She stopped. I didn't ask questions because I was afraid of the answers. That's not enough, Mom. I know it's not. You put my name on everything. You were in that kitchen when Dad suggested it. You said I was the responsible one. You made it sound like an honor. Her eyes filled. I'm sorry, Carmen. I was protecting the family, and I used you to do it, and I told myself it was because we trusted you. She wiped her eye quickly, composing herself. Trust isn't the same as fair, and I confused them for too long. The apartment was very quiet. Molly had her eyes closed under Mom's hand. I looked at my mother, really looked at her, at the lines around her eyes, at the way she was sitting, no performance, no angle, just a woman who'd driven over alone with soup because she didn't know what else to bring. I'm not ready to pretend everything is fine, I said. I'm not asking you to. Dad and I need more time. I understand. Oliver, I stopped. I don't know what Oliver and I look like going forward. Maybe nothing, maybe something small eventually, but not now. She nodded. But you came alone, I said, without Dad telling you what to say, without Oliver asking you to negotiate. I paused. That matters. She looked up. It's a start, I said. That's all I can give you right now. A start. She exhaled slowly, something releasing in her shoulders. That's enough, she whispered. That's more than enough. We sat together for a while after that, not talking much. Mom asked about Chandler. I told her small things, safe things. She told me Audrey had called Oliver and said things that needed to be said a long time ago. I filed that away. When she stood to leave, she stopped at the door. The soup has the dumplings, the way you like. I know, I said. She smiled, small, tired, real. Then she left. I stood in the quiet of my apartment and looked at Molly, who had followed Mom to the door and was now looking at me with those steady, dark eyes. I know, I said to her. I know. 3 months later, life looked different. Not perfect, not fixed, just different. Chandler and I were solid. He never once made me feel like the legal case was something to be ashamed of. He made me feel like it was the most logical thing I'd ever done. Audrey and I had lunch twice. She asked real questions. I gave real answers. We were rebuilding something neither of us had properly built the first time. Mom called every Sunday, not with emergencies, not with requests, just to talk. Dad and I were not there yet. Maybe we would be. Maybe we wouldn't. I'd stopped deciding that in advance. Oliver and I had not spoken since the hallway. His case was ongoing. His choices were his to carry now. Matilda sent me one text 3 months after everything. I hope you're okay. I really do. I believed her. Molly got a new bed that she immediately refused to sleep in and continued occupying my entire couch without apology. Some things don't change. And me? I stopped being the one who handled everything. I stopped signing things I didn't fully understand. I stopped mistaking my family's need for me with their love for me. Those are different things. They always were. I just needed receipts to finally believe it. The end. Thank you for staying with Carmen Tomlinson. If this story hit close to home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you've been the responsible one your whole life, remember, capable is not the same as available. Molly approves this message.